Oh, jeez.
Socialists are strange. They go to protests, which they film on their iPhones, thanks capitalism. They call for the overthrow of Australia, thanks freedom of speech, and rage about how horrible Australia is, even though thousands have sought refuge here fleeing socialism and millions have moved here for a better life. But anyway, on Friday, I went back to my alma mater, Sydney University, to check out the Socialist convention and try to get some answers. This is how it went.
Do you want to have a chat about socialism?
All right, just to start off, anyone's point of view on socialism or capitalism and stuff, like whatever you think, if Australia is going to go that way, socialist, or like if you think the capitalist movement or being capitalist is good, I'd love to hear what you think down below. Share your thoughts and tell me what you think this how this video is going to go.
Thanks.
No? Why are you here today?
She's from Sky News. I wouldn't engage.
I love how Sky News has already got that sort of people know that they're very far right, but the good thing about Sky News is they do kind of encourage this debate kind of lifestyle, which is pretty good. So it is entertaining.
Does anybody want to talk? Have you come to this conference to not talk about socialism? Because I'm trying to talk to anyone, but no one's down for a chat.
It's a shame. Don't really feel like it.
So I feel like I understand what she's doing, and I understand the irony behind it all. But I feel like you need to go into those sort of conversations a little bit differently if you want people to actually engage. You can kind of see that already. Her sort of body language is really just, she's trying to make these people look stupid. Which
don't really feel like it.
It actually felt a lot like true socialism because there was no freedom of speech and no one would dare talk to me because I wasn't from approved media. While they couldn't give me any answers, I'm hoping my next guest might. Each week,
I don't know how free speech wasn't a thing there. I mean, I think free speech was clearly exercised because you were able to go there, ask some questions, and then they were able to freely deny. I think... I don't know that, but just saying.
I'll be taking on someone with opposing views. We want to break out of the echo chamber and have some real heated debate. So joining me tonight is Jordan Vanderam, Senate candidate for the Victorian Socialist Party. Thank you so much for joining me, Jordan. It's nice to be with you this evening. Jordan, you make videos about bad rental properties, things like kitchens being unfinished or bathrooms in poor conditions, even apartments in people's garages. But isn't that just the free market at work? No one is forcing anyone to rent these properties.
Yeah, it's the free market at work, which is why it needs to be destroyed.
Right. So if you eliminated private rental properties, how would anyone rent at all?
Well, those properties wouldn't go anywhere. They wouldn't just disappear. We could just live in them. That's how it should work.
But who...
Wait, what? So he's saying no private market for rentals, and that people should just be able to live in rentals with willy-nilly... I don't even know how that would work.
How would you have any pricing mechanism? Because I would love to go live in a $10 million house in Toorak or the eastern suburbs, but that's just not possible. You have to have some sort of market to arrange things.
I think, she's well. Anyway, I'm obviously pro capitalism. I think Australia's, obviously more pro capitalism than socialism, just how everything's set up. I don't know. I kind of agree with her here. You kind of need some sort of benchmark in terms of, who's going to live in the highest end of apartments and then who's going to end in the lowest. And, the kind of I don't understand how you can just have why would you have any sort of scale on affordability or what you can afford or what you can, if someone's going to live by the beach or they're going to live more inland or in suburbs, there needs to be some sort of scale, and that tends to be money. I'm interested to see what he says here.
No, you don't. You just absolutely don't. That's the least efficient way to arrange things. It's the least efficient distributor of need. I think, yeah, it's pretty clear that, you know, your main concern is how would people make profit instead of why would, like, it's a way to stop 10,000 people experiencing homelessness every month in Australia. Like, yeah.
I don't think that's what she's saying. I don't think she's saying talking about addressing a need. I think it's more about fairness. You know, it's, imagine if you work quite a high skilled job that you've had to go to university for, and then, you know, you've worked 10 years in the industry to become like a supervisor or a seniority level, and then the person next door to you just works at a cafe, yet you're living in the same sort of complex. I don't like, okay, everyone, it's kind of like a need that we all need housing, but there still needs to be some sort of scale to distribute, you know, who is basically, you know, what's fair in terms of how much you contribute and then what you can afford. I think, yeah.
We just don't need markets for human need.
But markets are an efficient way of distributing things. Yes, they are.
How are they? If a market's an efficient way of distributing something, then why do we have more than 100,000 empty properties in the Melbourne metropolitan area alone, while we have less than 30,000 people approximately in the entire state of Victoria experiencing homelessness? Why do we have, you know, Coles and Woolies throw away tons and tons of food every day, while hunger levels in Australia are increasing faster than we've ever had on record? Like, that's just...
No, so like he's missing like some pretty key things there. Like when you start looking at like how many properties are available to rent in the current market, you got to realize is that when someone gets in, like when someone moves out, it can be untenanted for like, you know, weeks before it's tenanted again. So that, you know, they count. It doesn't mean that there's just houses and apartments just sitting there, you know, just doing nothing. You know, and the homelessness point of view, like some people just don't want to live in the area that they are in. Like some people, like they have to like move schools, they have to move districts, they might have to move in state. There's lots of things at play there instead of just doing this one-for-one comparison of like, here's how many homeless people we have and here's how many apartments we have. Why can't we just put them together and then basically solve the crisis? Like it really doesn't work that way. And you know, trying to compare to like the Woolies and Coles thing about throwing away food. I mean, a lot of the food they throw away is because they go expired and because they are proven that those are the types of foods that cause people to get sick. You know, like if you got some ranky cheese, of course you're not going to go, okay, let's start distributing that to the homeless. It'll make them sick. Like what? Like it's insane.
Not correct. That's wrong.
Well, what would be the incentive for anyone to build? Because I accept there are vacant properties, but there are a number of reasons for that. If you're moving between homes, a property might be vacant for a period of time. If it's on the market, if it's waiting for someone to rent it out, there are plenty of reasons for vacant properties. But the fundamental drivers of the housing market are supply and demand. Currently in Australia, we have constricted supply because we have an unproductive construction industry. There's a lot of red tape and government regulations.
There's too many bureaucrats in construction. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we can agree on that. That's a good thing. So I would say you slash that, slash red tape.
Yes, and then slash the bosses in construction and let us build stuff. Absolutely.
The bosses. Wait, what? I thought they were actually aligning there. I agree that there's a lot of red tape in construction, and there's an issue with productivity. We just saw that before, and it is being addressed. But what is this slashing the bosses?
Let the workers earn more for the work that they're doing and get rid of the bosses. 100%.
So who would be building stuff then?
Workers.
But
workers build stuff.
Who builds
stuff now?
Well, workers need to be...
I think what she's trying to say here is, you know, not who's gonna do it. Like the workers are, you're gonna be your hands-on people who are doing it, but you're gonna need like a lot of like planning approvals. You're gonna need some engineers. You're gonna need some architects. You're gonna need some like actual town and state planning, water services. It's not just workers.
Managed by businesses.
Like a planned economy is the way to do stuff. That's just how it should work.
When has a planned economy ever worked?
Plenty of times. Plenty of times.
Give me an
Anytime that
example.
we get anywhere close to building a planned economy, capitalism and the market spends billions and billions of dollars mobilizing forces to destroy it.
But I would say red tape, which we've both agreed is an issue, the over-regulation of the construction.
Hang on, are there any planned... hang on, what are you saying?
Forces to destroy it.
But I would say...
Plenty of times.
Give me an
Anytime that
example.
we get anywhere close to building a planned economy, capitalism and the market spends billions and billions of dollars mobilizing forces to destroy it.
But I would say red tape, which we've both agreed is an issue, the over-regulation of the construction industry, that is
No, I
an
don't think it's
example.
the over-regulation.
That's an example of the
No,
planned economy.
I don't agree with that. It's not the over-regulation of the construction industry. It's the over-representation of bureaucrats in the construction industry. Bureaucrats as well as bosses. Get rid of the bosses, get rid of the bureaucrats.
I'm interested to know what he thinks the bureaucrats are and what he thinks bosses currently do in the construction industry. Because these, like, I feel like these are just terms that are being, like, he's saying bureaucrats and bosses in one aspect, and then I think she's probably got like a different, understanding of who those people are, because it's a very like large, I got bosses, at work, and they're team leads, supervisors. But then when you get into like your executive level, are they your bosses too? Like, is he talking about like executives, or is he talking about like, is he going to put your supervisors under a worker? Because a supervisor that goes out to site and oversees, like even like safety and all that sort of stuff, like, are they considered a worker or are they not, because they're not actually like doing the physical assembly of the construction? And for her, she's probably talking about like, you've got workers who are basically trying to go out and get investments to be able to afford to build these houses, and then you got like the planners, and then you got people that communicate with like government and stuff like that. It's like and then I think she's kind of fixating on the the red tape sort of thing, because it's slowing down construction in a lot of areas. Whereas, I think they're kind of missing each other, which is just creating the debate point.
And like the regulations that exist are so that houses don't fall down and so that people don't die. Those regulations are important. I want to live in a building that's not going to fall on me, like the mascot towers and stuff like that. I want to live in a building that is nice, good quality, beautiful, accessible, like something that's not going to kill me because of black mold, because of poor construction.
Oh my God. Okay, so he wants all of these things, but then not have to sort of pay for it and it be given to him. Wait, like, if you want an insanely safe house, then you've got to pay for those expertise. And do you know how you get those expertise? You have to pay for them. You have to... these sort of experts don't just come out of nowhere. They need to be incentivized for becoming the experts. And then those experts cost more. I don't understand like how this is even going to work.
But I don't want to live in a building that I can't afford.
But the bureaucrats that are in the construction industry have increased in direct proportion with the regulation and red tape that's been put on the construction industry.
I mean, sure, yeah, there's a way that you can argue that, but like that's not the reason that bureaucrats and bosses increase. They increase because they can profit more. That's the direct correlation.
Oh, that is that is a gross argument. So the reason why bureaucrats and bosses have increased in the industry is because there's more and more profits. That is insane.
The more direct correlation.
But that doesn't really make sense, because if you're a construction firm and your motivation is to make profit, why would you be employing unproductive bureaucrats to sit there and paper shuffle when you could be employing more workers who could build more stuff and make you more money?
They're the bureaucrats.
Yeah, 100%. Like, why would you invest in these people that actually don't get the job done? And why not hire more workers to actually get the things together? It's not as simple as what he's saying, and I think, is it Freya? Yeah, Freya here is, she's touching on points, and they don't even have to be really that detailed, which I think is what she's getting to, and it kind of smothers the other side.
The bosses are the bureaucrats.
But without the bosses, nothing gets built.
That's not correct. That's just...
Okay, do you know what? This guy has never managed a project in his life. I could tell you that right now. I think if he thinks that a boss just sits there and just counts all the money coming in, he is delusional. Because, I don't know if you've ever met any bosses, but they tend to be the ones that work the most, and then the workers are the ones who tend to be able to go in at 7 or 8, and then leave at 3, 4, or 5, and then they can basically kick off their shoes. They got no risk, because if the company goes bust, they just basically move on to the next, and there's a lot of workers needed, so it's a lot easier for them to find a job. Whereas a boss who's at that more seniority level, there's actually limited jobs in those aspects, and it's a very high stress load, and then if you want to get into doing your own business, you're taking on a lot of risk. You see how many construction businesses have shut down over the last 5-10 years just from the whole COVID thing. So I don't think that this guy is a little bit out of touch with reality here.
Correct.
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. But anyway, let's move.
The Opera House, the Sydney Opera House, was completed under workers' control. No bosses.
I'm pretty sure the Opera House is not done just by workers. I want to know what he is actually thinking here. Does he think that 10 guys just got together and was like, okay, yeah, let's build something, and then they did the Opera House at a small scale? I'm pretty sure the Opera House was done by architects, and initially it was done by investors and architects and engineers and stuff, and then they started the design, and then they moved out, and the government stepped in and took over from there. It wasn't done with just 10 blue collared workers that could you got a brickie, an electrician, and a plumber together, and they decided to build the Opera House. I don't think, is that what he actually thinks?
They literally kicked the bosses off-site.
Again, you are yet to give an
I love it. It's just that is just not even true.
Example of any country in the
Sydney
world
Opera
where
House.
socialism has actually worked.
There's an example.
Maybe you could do it for one
Sydney
building,
Opera House.
but it couldn't work for the entire economy at all.
Yeah. Okay. So even then, right?
One
Sydney
building,
Opera House.
but
I like her response there, because it's undisputable that even let's just grant him that which isn't true, by the way. The Sydney Opera House wasn't built by just workers. There was a lot more to that than the Sydney Opera House and than what he's saying. But what she said there is, just because it works for one doesn't mean that it works for a whole economy, and that is 100% true. Even if you got, because I'm my fiance's dad, he built his house. He could build things. He built his own house. Blah blah blah. People can do that, and there's a lot of people that do that. But that doesn't work for an economy. Okay, it works on one-off scenarios. You can't just go, oh, okay, yeah, it worked for that. Now let's change all of Australia for it. It doesn't work that way, and I think she kind of clues onto that straight away.
It couldn't work for the entire
economy. Yeah, 100%. This is probably the first time ever I'm probably going to watch a Sky News thing and actually be on the side of what they're saying. It's actually quite funny. Jordan Bennett. Okay, yeah, I've got to watch some of his stuff. I reckon that would be it is I don't think share what you think. Think about this. There are a growing, pardon me. I think there are growing socialists, and I'm gonna probably say that, gonna guess that they're, younger generation. This guy here is obviously quite young. Definition of socialist: someone who wants everything except your job. He goes on about homelessness, but mass immigration is a major cause of it because of supply demand. I mean, yeah, immigration does have an influence on it, but I think immigration, basically hits the rental markets more rather than the buyer's market. Squatting anywhere is a norm. He has never picked up a hammer. Sad thing is that this claim is not unemployable. Yeah. has the understanding of a 10-year-old. So like, this guy's delusional. I mean, I know this is a Sky News video, but I think this is the far left. This is going to go very, very far left. Anyways.